We are on the very last line of 85a, Ayin Ham and Aleph. And we just spoke about there's an evil king that was going to come to the world named Hiram. 75, sorry, you're right, Jules. I'm jumping the gun by 10 daf. So, by 75a. Hashem saw this evil king named Hiram that was going to be created. He was going to try to, take over. He wanted to be the king instead of Hashem. So he said there, that's why he created different holes in our body. So then the Gemara says, "V'ikeda Amri, hachi kamar, b'chanis tekalti." Flipping the page. The kanasti misal adam. I looked at you, and then I declared death upon the world. Okay, so now the Gemara says, "Ma'i v'al mikra'eha." So for those that call out to you, Amar Rabba Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Lo ki Yerushalayim shel olam hazeh, Yerushalayim shel olam haba. Don't think that Yerushalayim in this world will be the same as Yerushalayim in the next world. Yerushalayim shel olam hazeh, so kol harotze la'alos olam. Nowadays, you want to go to Yerushalayim? Go to Yerushalayim. You're welcome to go. However, shel olam haba ein olan ela hamizumanim la. Yerushalayim olam haba, you got to get a special invitation. VIP, a pass to the lounge. You can't just go in. Okay, so Amar Rabba Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Asidim Tzadikim Shanikrayin Al Shman Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the future, the Tzadikim are going to reach such a level, and they'll get the honor of having Hashem's name called upon them. Shenamar Kol Nikra B'Shmi V'Lechvodi Barasiv Yitzartev Af Asisav. So the pasuk says, "Kol hanikra b'shmei." Anybody who calls that in my name, ulechvodi, in my honor, barasiv yatzartiv. I'm going to create them, form them, af asisav, and even I will create them. Right. So you see in the verse that Kol hanikra b'shmi, whoever calls that in my name, so the chvodi barasiv, and in my honor, I've created them and I formed them. I even made them. So,
what's the connection to Af in Geshem or Tal?
To what too?
In Geshem or in Tal, I don't remember which we talk about Af.
Oh, yeah. Good question. Yeah. Okay. I guess it's funny. I don't see directly here where they're being called on Hashem's name, but I guess he's saying I'm creating them, I'm forming them. That's a certain level of honor. Amar Shmo Bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Shlosha nikro al Shmo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. 3 will be called with the name of Hashem. So ve'elu hein tzadikim u'Mashiach v'Yerushalayim. Tzadikim, Mashiach, and Yerushalayim will all be called with Hashem's name. So tzadikim hada amram. Tzadikim, we just said. Mashiach d'chsiv v'zeh shmo asher yikru Hashem. Hashem tzidkenu v'zeh shmo asher yikru Hashem. Hashem is going to call him with his name. V'zeh shmo. Yerushalayim d'chsiv saviv shmona asar alef. It's going to be surrounded by 18,000 amos. V'shema ir miyom Hashem shama. Al tikri shama ela shma. Don't read it shama like over there, rather shma. It's name, that Hashem's going to place his name on Yerushalayim. Amar Rabbi Lazar, asidim tzadikim she'omrim lifneim, kadosh, kederech she'omrim lifnei kadosh baruch hu. Shnamar v'haya hanishar b'tzir v'hanozer Yerushalayim kadosh yomar lo. So the tzaddikim are going to be called by Hashem kadosh yomar lo. The angels who respond kadosh will say that upon the tzaddikim. They're going to say kadosh upon the tzaddikim. The same way they say kadosh in front of me now, they're going to refer to the tzaddikim as kadosh yomar lo. So that's also in essence a certain level of putting Hashem's name on the tzaddikim. Okay. Amar Rabbi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Asiyat HaKadosh Baruch Hu lehagbiya es Yerushalayim shlosha parsos. In the future, Hashem will raise up Yerushalayim 3 parsos lamala upwards. Shenamar v'rama v'yasha tachteha. So it's going to be lifted up. It's going to be, the verse says, Yerushalayim v'rama v'yasha tachteha. So it says the word, what does it mean? Mai tachteha, under it. So it means kitachteha. So 1 second. It's going to be lifted up like the things that are under it. Meaning, the whole verse reads, and Yerushalayim will be lifted up, and she will abide in her place. She will sit in her place. So ma'itach, that doesn't mean she'll be sitting in her place. It means it's going to be lifted up to a place that it's like its place. So it's going to be lifted up to a new place, and she'll rest there. That'll be its new place. So how do you know that this new place that Yerushalayim is going to reside in is 3 parsos? It'll be lifted up and have its new place, but I know the new place is 3 parsos. So Amar Rabba, Amar Li Hahu Saba. So Hahu Saba said to me, often Hahu Saba refers to Eliyahu Navi, that Chazali Yerushalayim Kamaisa Vetlat the Parsavya. I saw Yerushalayim of old, and it was really 3 parsos higher up. Higher up. So he told me that, so therefore I know that its place is really 3 parsos higher up in the air. So v'shema tomar yesh tsar lalos. If to go up so high to Yerushalayim, to walk up all the stairs, that's going to cause pain. Sounds like it can't be that going up to Yerushalayim has to include tsar, include pain with it. Maybe because when we have a mitzvah to go to Yerushalayim at least three times a year. So general rule is there's no mitzvah that Hashem can bring with pain. That's why one of the commentaries says why only a man is commanded having children, a woman's not directly commanded because it's going to cause her pain, and you can't have a mitzvah that's going to cause pain. Doesn't make sense. So maybe that's what it's saying over here also. Shema Tomer Yesh Sar Lalos. How can you have a place it's going to cause pain to go up to Yerushalayim? So Tamar Lomar Mi Ela Ka'afto Afenu. What are these that are going to go up like a bird? Because Yavanim El Aruba Seima, like doves to its dove house. So you see it's going to go swiftly up like a bird. You're going to go up swiftly like a bird. It's not going to cause any pain. Amarav Papa Shma Mina Hai Eva Plata Parsi Midli. So now I know that Hai Eva, same way in the verse it says the bird's going to go up, is going to go up very swiftly, and we're comparing that to Yerushalayim. So now I know that the cloud that the bird goes up to is also 3 parsos. The altitude of the cloud is 3 parsos. Yeah, since we compare going up to Yerushalayim like flying to a cloud, since Yerushalayim is 3 parsos high, so also this cloud is also the same measurement of 3 parsos high. But you see that we're comparing the two, and a bird goes swiftly up to the cloud. So too, we Jewish people will go up without pain to Yerushalayim. I know what you're thinking, all those steps by Shar Yafo and small little narrow pathways. Yeah, but not so hard. So yeah. Rabbi Chanina Bar Papa Bikesh Kadosh Baruch Hu Lasis Yishalayim B'Mida. So Rabbi Chanina said that Hashem requested to give Yerushalayim in a certain measurement. Shenamar v'omer ana ata holech v'yomer limud es Yerushalayim lirois kamer rechava v'kam orch. I want to go see how wide is Yerushalayim, how long is Yerushalayim. Let's measure it. Amar malachei Yeshares. So the malachim told Hashem, Lifnei Kadosh Baruch Hu, Ribbono Shalom, I don't understand. Harbe krachim barasa b'olamach. You created so many cities in the world, shalumas olam of the non-Jews. Belona sata midas arkano midas rachman, and you didn't, so to speak, go out of your way and measure them exactly. Yerushalayim. Now here's interesting. Yerushalayim, which is defined as sheshmecha besocha. Yerushalayim, it's your name is in it, meaning it's the most holy city. Hashem, so your name is in Yerushalayim. Umikdashcha besocha, and your Beis Hamikdash is in it, and the tzadikim besocha, and there are tzadikim inside of it. So ata nosin b'mida. So you're gonna, for the other nations of the world, and they have their cities, you didn't go out of your way to figure out how, exactly what the measurements are. And for Yerushalayim, do you want to go figure out how big it is and how wide it is? So what happened? Miyad, right away, V'yomer love. The verse says in Zechariah, Roots Dabrel Hanar Halaz Lamor, Prazos Tesev Yerushalayim, Meirov Adam, U Behema V'socha. Right away, the verse says. So Hashem said to tell, this is from Zechariah, tell Zechariah that Yerushalayim will abide as an open area on account of the multitude of men and animals in its midst. Meaning that it's not going to be limited by a wall or a boundary. It could expand as much as necessary to accommodate people. So we're not going to put a set measurement on Yerushalayim because that would limit it. That would limit Yerushalayim. So the Malachim said other cities that don't have as much significance, you didn't limit how big they have to be. There's no significance to it. New York has to be only this big, then you cap it off, right? So Yerushalayim, how can you put a cap on Yerushalayim? So Hashem accepted that argument, and then he said that there'll be no limit to Yerushalayim. It could be as wide as it needs to accommodate the Jewish people.
There's some discussion somewhere where as many people can fit in to pray at the temple.
Correct. There's a miracle that everyone's smushed in, but when they bow down, there's space for everybody. Right. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say only for the Jewish people, because we're going to say by Slichos, by Rosh Hashanah, Ki beisi beis tefillah yikrei lechol ha'amim. The place of the temple is going to be a place for all the nations to pray in. So it has to fit really a lot of people. Yeah. So in the future, Hashem is going to add to Jerusalem Elef Kafaf Ginaos, Elef Kafal Migdalim, Elef Litzui Biranios. So basically, it's going to be twice and three times the size of the gematria of these words. So he's going to add to Yerushalayim Elef Tefef Ginaos. So Ginaos are gardens. So it's going to be 1,000 times the numerical value of Tefef, which is 169. Elef Kefel Migdalim. Migdal is a tower. So it's going to be towers that are going to be 1,000 times the value of Kefel, which is 210. Elef Litzui Biranios. They're going to be castles. They're going to be 1,000 times the numerical value of Litzui, which is 146. Elef Ushnei Shiloh Totafros. There's going to be fortresses that are going to be this time it's 1,002. 1,002 times the numerical value of Shiloh of 345. And each of these additions are going to have it's going to have a population like the city of Sepphoris in its prosperity. It says here it's talking about Tzipori, which is a major Jewish city in the Lower Galilee, in the times of the Gemara. So basically, it sounds like Yerushalayim is going to be much more expanded. It's interesting, either because of the previous Gemara that we just had, that it has no borders, because it has to accommodate everybody. So now it's describing how much is going to be added to it, or just in general, it's going to be added to it. Okay. So Tanya, Rabbi Yossi Anira Isi Tzipori, I want to saw the city Tzipori. There were 180 marketplaces, shel mochre tzike kedera, of people that would sell tzike kedera. They would sell some kind of pot stew, some kind of stew. So that was a very, very big city. So the verse continues in Yecheskel. V'atzlaos tzela shalosh ushloshim pa'amim. So hatzlaos tzela. So the verse says in Yecheskel, that regarding the chambers, there was a chamber and a chamber 33 times. So in the base of Mikdash, there's many different chambers. So here it says that they were chamber on top of a chamber, shalosh v'shloshim pamim. So 33 times. What does that mean? 33 times. Ma'i shalosh v'shloshim pamim. Amar Rav Levi, Amar Rav Papi, Mishum Rav Yeshua Desakini. Im shlosha Yerushalayim, kol achas v'achas yesh ba shloshim medurin lamala. Im shloshim Yerushalayim, kol achas v'achas yesh ba shloshim medurim lamala. So we're talking about, I think, Yerushalayim in the next world. And we say, so if there's going to be 3 Yerushalayim's, it'll be one on top of the other. Or it's going to be so big that's going to be 30 Yerushalayim's in the next world. Yeah. If there'll be 30 Yerushalayim's, so it's going to be 30 times as big as its current size. So each one's going to have 3 dwellings, one over another. Meaning you're going to have all these different chambers in Yerushalayim. Yeah. Okay, continuing. Itmar. Oh wow. Okay. Finished the Agadata. We are taken by surprise that it was going to end. Steve was skeptical, but so we made it. So Itmar. Okay, Itmar. We're back to, believe it or not, our parak start off with selling a boat, right? And then we had a lot about ships and boats and sea monsters and ravens. So if you sell a boat, it talks about what you sell, what's included. So now, when you sell a boat, how do you acquire a boat? We know that acquisitions, so depending on what you're acquiring, there are different ways to acquire. Different side animals, whether you're acquiring a servant, acquiring a house, acquiring movables. Itmar. Sfina, a boat. So Rav says, Kevan shemashach kolshehu kana. Since you just pull it a little bit, you take the rope and you've pulled it a little bit, so then you have been kona. You're kona. Once again, pulling is just symbolic of like bringing it into your possession, right? All the kinyanim are different ways to show that you're bringing it into your possession. Ushmuel amar lo kana achi yimshach eskula. The whole boat has to move. Sounds like Rav says even a little bit of the boat, but Shmuel says the whole boat has to move. You have to uproot the entire boat from its place. That will be a full acquisition. That's an acquisition. So says the Gemara, this is very similar to another machlokas. Lema kitanai. Say that the machlokas Rav and Shmuel, who are the first generation Amoraim, is parallels of machlokas in the Tanaim. What's that machlokas? So that's the Gemara in Kedushin that talks about how to acquire different animals. So right now we're talking about how to acquire larger animals. So ketzad. So how do you do it? B'mesira. You do it b'mesira. It's passed over to you. It's niknes b'mesira. Aksa b'talfa, or b'shara, or b'okif shaleha, or b'shalev shaleha, or b'prumya shebepia, b'zug shebetzavara. So basically, you're grabbing onto many different parts of the animal, and the different parts, either you have to grab its hoof, or its hair, or the saddle that's on it, or the load that's strapped on it, or you take the bit that's in its mouth, or b'zug shebetzavara. So all those, if you just take those, so then if you do any of those actions, then you have acquired. That's how you fulfill doing the act of Mesira. That's what Mesira is. So that's how you acquire much larger animals. Because then I guess, trying to acquire an elephant, right? It's very hard to just pull the whole elephant and uproot it from its place. However, if you can take one of these things, so then you show that you are the owner. Yeah. Okay. So that's all by a larger animal. What about by a smaller animal? So that's Ketzad. That's already been Meshicha, and that's what's relevant to us. The Meshicha, when you pull it. So what's Meshicha? Ketzad ben Meshicha. Korela v'hiba. Let's say you call it. So, I know you're crying your dog. Yeah, you call it by its name and it runs to you. Oh, you tap it with a makkah with a stick. V'ratzta lefanav, or it runs in front of you. Sorry, and it runs in front of you. Two separate ones? Or it's one?
It's one thought.
It's one thought, right? Yeah. Just hitting it with a stick is not going to do anything. But if you tap it and then it runs in front of you, and you've also showed your ownership over it. So you see that it has to uproot its hand and its leg. Once it's uprooted its hand and its leg, then your Meshicha is successful. Rabbi Achi, some say Rabbi Achi say, just to uproot is not enough. It actually has to walk. Mali komasa, what it means in its full stature, but what it means is it uproots all four legs. So you have a machlokas by small animals, how much you need to acquire them. So this sounds very similar to Rav and Shmuel by a boat. Do you have to just pull the boat and only part of the boat moves? Or do you have to uproot the boat on all fours? Meaning you have to uproot the boat in its entirety and only then you've acquired it. Sounds like the same machlokas by a smaller animal. Is uprooting only a part of the animal enough, or have to uproot the whole animal to be considered an acquisition? So says the Gemara, not necessarily. Don't think that the boats are similar to the small animals. Why? So first it says, Lema Rav da Amar Kitana Kama, Shmuel da Amar Rabbi Acha. Rav will take the first opinion over there, and Shmuel will take the second opinion over there. He'll take Rabbi Acha. So Amar Lach Rav, not necessarily. Ana da Amri, I say Afilu Rabbi Acha, meaning me Rav, who says that even a little bit of the animal could be acquired. However, I'm going to agree, so a little bit of the boat, to acquire it. I will agree to Rabbi Acha that by a small animal, it has to uproot all fours. Why? Rabbi Acha only mentioned his halacha, his law regarding animals. The afagav, the akriyad v'regel, but b'duch tekaima, that because if you only uproot your hand and it's only two of its fours, it's only its hand and its leg, so then it's still in the same place. It didn't go anywhere. Aval svina, but a boat, kevan denada porta, nadala kula. When you shake a boat, everyone here is an expert boat shaker, right? So when you shake a boat, the whole boat shakes. When animal lifts up only two of its fours, its leg and its foot, so then it stays in the same place. But by a boat, since moving it, what's the logic why moving it a little bit is enough to acquire it? He said, because then I've literally shaken the whole boat. That's enough to acquire it. Meaning, everyone agrees by a boat, you have to do an acquisition that's going to affect the entire boat. The question is, how do you affect the entire boat? Do you shake the entire boat, or do you move the entire boat? But no one said just a little bit of the boat's enough. So that's what Rav said. That's why he said. This is why important when the Gemara says maybe it's a similar machlokas to earlier. If you would have thought that, then you would have thought that on a boat, just a little bit of moving would be enough. That's why Rav says not so fast. I hold the whole boat has to move. So that's why I'll agree to Rabbi Acha by an animal. But by a boat, I'm going to disagree.
What if you hit it with a bottle of champagne?
If you hit it with a bottle of champagne,
Yeah,
I guess it depends on your arm. If you have a good arm, then they say don't try this at home, right? So I guess the best place to try it is at home, not on a cruise. So the Shmuel Amar, so Shmuel says, Shmuel who said that you actually have to uproot the whole boat. So maybe you'll think he holds a Rabbi Acha, they have to actually uproot the whole animal. So Shmuel says no. Shmuel Amar Anad Amri Afilu Ketana Kama. Me, Shmuel, can agree with the first opinion of when you're trying to acquire a smaller animal, you don't need to uproot the whole animal. Just uprooting its hand and its leg would be enough. Why? Adkan lo kamar Tanakama el balei chayim. Tanakama was talking about animals. The kaven de me'akar yad v'regel. The kaven de me'akar yad v'regel idach le'me'akar kaima. So by the balei chayim, since you uprooted its hand and its foot, so idach le'me'akar kaima. So it sounds like it can't really stand on all fours. So it's going to have to uproot its other hand and leg also. So that's just uprooting two of them is going to be enough. Yeah, they came in the mi'akar yad v'regel idach le'mi'akar kaima. So the other legs are going to have to be uprooted also, because once the animal starts moving its legs, its foreleg and its hind leg, it's almost guaranteed that it's going to start moving on all fours, because it's very hard. Meaning, we can stand on two instead of on all fours, but the front and the back leg on one side of an animal is going to be pretty difficult for it to continue standing. So that's why just two of those is enough. However, a sfina, a boat, aval sfina imashich lakula ani lo a sfina. So just because you've moved the front of the boat does not necessarily mean that the back of the boat's going to move. Therefore, you have to move the entire boat. Okay, so that's why Rav and Shmuel's machlokas by a boat is not the same as their machlokas by smaller animals. Okay, lema kahani tanai. So maybe you say that Rav and Shmuel are going to have the same machlokas that was already stated and already preceded them. The Tanya, Sfina, now we're talking about a boat. Sfina niknes b'mashicha. A sfina you could acquire just by pulling it. So Rabbi Nassan Omer, Sfina ve'osios niknos b'mashicha. A cryptic statement. A sfina and letters are acquired by pulling. Letters here is referring to a document. So somebody owes you $1,000. You want to sell that document. So that's also if someone pull the document, so then that's going to be enough to acquire it. Yeah. Turning the page, ubishtar. So Rabbi Nassan said a sfina va'osios niknes b'mashicha ubishtar. You have to do mashicha and write a document. Only with the document will you transfer ownership. So says the Gemara, Osios mandikar shmayu. Who mentioned anything about letters over here, about legal documents? We're talking about a sfina, right? The first opinion said sfina niknes b'mashicha, a boat's acquired with pulling it. Rabbi Nassan said sfina va'osios, a boat and letters, which refer to documents. So the Gemara says, who mentioned documents here? And that's not what we're talking about. So chasuri maxra of hakatani. So if you reread the rest like this, Svina niknes v'mashicha. The osios b'masir. Really, the Tanakama was missing something. It mentioned that you can acquire documents through the act of masira, which we'll see just by grasping it. You don't have to actually pull it. So we'll see what that means in a second. So that's Mashicha, the osios be Mesira. Okay. Rabbi Nassan Omer, Svina of osios niknos b'Mashicha ubishtar. Says Rabbi Nassan when it comes to a boat and legal documents. So first of all, he argues that by a document, Mesira is enough. He says you have to do Mashicha. You have to actually pull it. Just grasping it's not enough. And you need to write a document to acquire it. So to acquire a legal document, you have to write a legal document. So says the Gemara, Shtar l'sfina lamali metaltalehi. Why do you need a legal document to acquire a boat? Once you've pulled it, It's like every other state movable object, a watch, a phone, a book, a mug. You don't need to write a document to acquire those things. Just by pulling it, then you have acquired it. So elalav hakikatani, rather teach it like this. Sfina niknes b'meshicha v'osios b'mesira. A boat is acquired by pulling it, and documents are acquired by mesira, just by grasping it. Rabbi Nassan Omer, Sfina b'meshicha. Really, a boat is with meshicha, so she agrees. The osios bishtar. But the osios, the legal documents, that you need another document to acquire it. You need both mesira and a shtar. Yeah. Just the difference is that when you have a movable object, so once you've pulled it, you've shown ownership over it. But a legal document, it itself is not necessarily worth anything. Right? It itself might be worth even less than a penny, but it represents what's written on it. Says that Mr. Stiver owes somebody $1 million. So the words on it. So you're not giving over the piece of paper itself. You're giving over what it represents. So that he held that you need a higher level of acquisition. You need more, more commitment, so to speak. That needs more to acquire. A regular movable, so just as long as you pulled it, that's enough. But this is going to be, but a legal document is going to be different. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Nassan just repeated what the Tanakama said. The first opinion said by a boat. It said Sfina b'meshicha hainu Tanakama. So you both agree by a boat. No one's arguing. So what does that mean? We just said that maybe Rav and Shmuel's machlokas by a boat is going to be the same as the two opinions in this brisa, but they have the same opinion by a boat. So it's not a separate machlokas. Ella de Rav v'Shmuel ika beinayu. So really, the Tanakama and Rabbi Nassan, they both say a boat's acquired with pulling it, but they disagree, just like Rav and Shmuel, how much you need. Do you need to pull the boat a little bit, or do you need to pull the boat a lot? So the Tanakama would say that a boat, you have to pull the whole thing. And Rabbi Nassan would say that only a little bit would be enough. Yeah, okay. So says the Gemara, no. Rav and Shmuel do not have the same disagreement as these two opinions in this brisa. The Kuli Alma, Ikarav, Ikashmuel. So everyone's going to agree either like Rav or like Shmuel. That's not what they're arguing about. They'll either both agree that you need to pull the whole boat, or they'll both agree that you need to pull only part of the boat. Ubisvina Kuli. You just pull like the front of it, and it shakes the whole boat.
But you're pulling the whole boat indirectly. You know what I'm saying? It's all one side thing.
Why can't you pull it?
How can you pull the front without pulling the whole boat? Absolutely.
I mean, maybe what it means is you pull it, but it doesn't actually move.
Right.
It just shakes.
That's what Rav said earlier, right? When you pull the front of it, I guess you have to attempt to pull the front of it, and the whole boat with
the rest of the boat would follow.
Right, you're right. Meaning, if you actually moved it, the whole boat's going to move. It's not magic, right? My magic was the last Yudaf. So,
Yes. Right.
In those stories, you could pull part of the boat, not the whole boat. You're right. So you really, meaning you're doing an act of pulling. When you do that, the boat's going to shake. As long as the boat shakes, it's enough. And Shmuel says, no, you actually have to uproot the boat from its place. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's got a side in the they're like a push out on the camper van.
Oh, yeah. Got a movable section.
So you know what? It could be. That's interesting. It could be the Rashbam, the very first Rashbam, by boat addresses your question, and it could be. I'm making mistakes. 1 second. It's not that you have to just shake the whole thing. Yeah, it says Rabbi, you have the mashach kolshehu. You can pull the ship even a tefach or half a tefach. Yeah, the ship moves, but the difference is it hasn't moved completely from its original position. Although the ship is not completely removed from its original position, but the ship has only moved slightly. And the area where the ship previously stood is still occupied in part by the ship. So Rav holds that even slight movement is sufficient to accomplish Mashiach. But Shmuel says he must pull the ship a distance equal to its entire length, so that the ship is completely removed from its place. So that's the difference. Very good. So you're not necessarily shaking the ship. Rav, you have to move it, but even a tefach, or even half a tefach is enough. And Shmuel says you have to take however big, if the ship is the size of this table, so you have to now move it that it's no longer the area that it was is no longer occupied. Yeah, very good. But you're right. It has to be pulled. Just going there and shaking the boat, I don't know if that's not Mashiach, that's shaking. Yeah. Thank you, Jules, for the clarification. Good. So look, the Kuli Alma Ikra Shmuel Ubasvina Kuli Alma Lo Pligi. No one's arguing by the acquisition of a boat. Ki Pligi, the only machlokas of a Tanakama and Rabbi Nosson is Be Osios, when it comes to the acquisition of legal documents. The Hachi Kamerle, Rabbi Nosson Tanakama. And Rabbi Nosson, he did speak about a boat. So what was he talking about? He was saying, Bisfina Vade Modina Lach, by a boat. For sure we agree. However, the Osios, by legal documents, so I'ika Shtar in, lo. You only can acquire, according to me, a legal document if you have another document that you're writing up and transferring the document over. So that if Reuben lent Shimon $1 million, and now Shimon owes Reuben $1 million, so Reuben wants to sell that document, so he has to write up another document that will describe the sale of this document. And this machlokes ubeplukta dahani tonight. This is a general machlokes in the following brayso, the Tanya. Osios, literally letters, niknus b'mesira, divrei Rabbi. V'chacham omrim, bein kasav v'lo masar, bein masar v'lo kasav v'lo kana, ad sheyichtov v'yimser. So when it comes to osios, which really just means documents, there's a machlokas. Can you just give it over with mesira? You have to just grasp it, or no? You always have to write. You always have to write and give that over. You have to write your own document and give that over. Yeah. Okay. 1 second. Okay, this is going to start a new. How we're going to compare this now to a boat. That's going to start a new discussion. So maybe it's
about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah, maybe we're going to stop here.
Okay.